Therefore Jacob passed forth, and came into the east land, and he saw a pit or well in the field, and 3 flocks of sheep resting beside it. For wise sheep were watered thereof, and the mouth thereof was closed with a great stone. And the custom was that when all the sheep were gathered together, they should turn away the stone, and when the flocks were watered, they should put it again on the mouth of the pit. And Jacob said to the shepherds, Brethren, of whence be ye? Which answered, Of Haran. And he asked them and said, Whether ye know Laban, the son of Nahor? They said, We know him. Jacob said, Is he whole? They said, He is in a good state. And lo, Rachel, his daughter, cometh with the flock. And Jacob said, Yet much of the day is to come, and it is not time that the flocks be led again to the folds. Swiftly give ye drink to the sheep, and so lead ye them again to meat or feeding. Which answered, We may not till all the sheep be gathered together, until we remove the stone from the mouth of the pit to water the flocks. Yet they spake, and lo, Rachel came with the sheep of her father. When Jacob saw her, and knew her to be the daughter of his mother's brother, and the sheep to be of Laban his uncle, he removed the stone with which the pit was closed, and when the flock was watered, he kissed her, and he wept with voice raised. And Jacob showed to her that he was the brother of her father, and the son of Rebekah, and she hasted and told to her father. And when he had heard that Jacob, the son of his sister, came, he ran to meet him, and he embraced Jacob, and kissed him, and led him into his house. Forsooth, when the causes of the journey were heard, Laban answered, Thou art my bone and my flesh. And after that the days of a month were filled, Laban said to Jacob, Whetherefore thou art my brother, thou shalt serve me freely. Say thou what meed thou shalt take. Forsooth Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah. Soothly the younger was called Rachel. But Leah was bleary-eyed, and Rachel was of fair face, and lovely in sight. And Jacob loved Rachel, and said, I shall serve thee 7 years for Rachel thy younger daughter. Laban answered, It is better that I give her to thee than to another man. Dwell thou with me. Therefore Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and the days seemed few to him for greatness of his love. And at last he said to Laban, Give thou my wife to me, for the time is fulfilled that I enter to her. And when many companies of friends were called to the feast, he made weddings. And in the eventide, Laban brought to him Leah his daughter, and gave an handmaid, Zilpah by name, to his daughter. And when Jacob had entered to her by custom, when the morrowtide was made, he saw Leah, and he said to his wife's father, What is it that thou wouldest do, whether I serve not thee for Rachel? Why hast thou deceived me? Laban answered, It is not custom in our place that we give first the younger daughter to weddings. Fulfill thou the week of the days of this wedding, and I shall give to thee also this Rachel, for the work in which thou shalt serve me by other 7 years. Jacob assented to the covenant, and when the week was past, he wedded Rachel, to whom her father had given Bilhah, an handmaid. And of the last Jacob used the weddings desired, and set the love of the latter wife before the first. And Jacob served Laban 7 other years. Forsooth, the Lord saw that Jacob despised Leah, that is, loved her less than Rachel, and he opened Leah's womb, while her sister dwelt barren. And Leah childed a son, conceived, and she called his name Reuben, and said, The Lord hath seen my meekness, now mine husband shall love me. And again she conceived and childed a son, and said, For the Lord saw that I was despised, and he gave also this son to me. And she called his name Simeon. And she conceived the 3rd time, and childed another son. And she said also, Now mine husband shall be coupled to me, for I have childed 3 sons to him. And therefore she called his name Levi. The 4th time she conceived and childed a son, and said, Now I shall acknowledge to the Lord. And therefore she called his name Judah, and ceased to child.